Hey everybody, it's Jeremy Hubbard. I just landed at LaGuardia Airport in New York City. My next flight is several hours from now across town at JFK Airport. And it got me to thinking, anybody can hop in a taxi, can get an Uber, can try and figure out public transportation, but what if we changed this up and tried something a little different? What if I actually walked from LaGuardia to JFK? Oh, and by the way, it's not exactly easy to do with 20 pounds strapped on your back. They said it couldn't be done. I think I've reached a dead end here. I don't think I can get any closer. Are they right? I've had a lot of really dumb ideas. This might be the dumbest one yet.
Yeah, no one's gonna crack you really over the head, man. You can handle yourself.
Good. Let's find out together in this episode of Window Seat. We're talking the sights and the frights, the yells and the smells, the good ones and the not so good ones. What better way to have a real New York experience than to walk nearly 10 miles across Queens on a beautiful fall afternoon, from one massive airport to another, on my way to catching an international flight out of JFK. That was my mission as I approached LaGuardia, staring out one of the most scratched up airplane windows in aviation history. As I walked the terminal at LaGuardia, I wondered if I could even make this work. Has it ever even been tried before? Should I alert the Guinness Book of World Records? Can you actually walk from LaGuardia Airport to JFK Airport? Only one way to find out. So, out the door I go. Okay, so let's start the clock. I'm just outside the airport right now. It's 12:45 p.m. Let's see how long it takes us to get across Queens. It actually didn't seem that difficult getting off airport property on foot. Just a short jaunt on the sidewalk, past a bunch of city buses, through a labyrinth of scaffolds and construction equipment, and then falling into line behind these airport workers right here. And then suddenly, I reach a crosswalk that appears to take me right into the heart of Queens. Yeah, assuming I don't get hung up somewhere, this is actually easier than I thought. You literally just walk out the doors, and then you're out. You're into the neighborhood. All right, good time to talk about the route. I worked it out on Google Maps, and here's the path they want me to take on foot. Pretty much a straight shot, mostly down a couple of major streets through Queens. Says it should take just shy of 4 hours on foot, and the total walk should be about 10.3 miles. Piece of cake. So, I found the official airport exit, I crossed the highway, and I am on my way. And here's the cool thing. Right away, when you get off airport property, you're going to enter some really cool neighborhoods in Queens, places like East Elmhurst. This is where Harry Belafonte used to live. Carroll O'Connor spent part of his life here. Archie Bunker was formed in this very part of town. These are the sorts of things you're never going to see if you take an Uber across town to the other airport.
I don't care.
This is already pretty cool. What I'm finding, aside from this lone, burned-out duplex, is a great, almost suburban neighborhood right here in New York City. Clean, safe, loaded with big trees and bargains if you're in the market for a sidewalk sale. As I make my way down Junction Boulevard, I saunter into more cool neighborhoods like Jackson Heights and Corona, Queens, where a lot of famous people once lived. Like Louis Armstrong. This intermediate school behind me actually is named for him, Louis Armstrong Intermediate School. He grew up in the area around here. So did Dizzy Gillespie, Estee Lauder. Madonna spent part of her life out here when she moved out from Detroit. And then so did Martin Scorsese.
It was like enlightening,
As I continue on down Junction Boulevard, some familiar New York City sights come into view. Dozens of garbage and recycling bags left right there on the curb and scattered along the street. Yes, this is the New York City I know and love. Then some more pleasant aromas waft my way as lunchtime crowds gather along the sidewalks of North Corona to buy fried food from street vendors. Right here at Junction Boulevard and Roosevelt Avenue, in the shadow of the Junction Boulevard subway station. My escape vessel, should I choose to abandon this trek. But nope, I keep going, even though I am going way too slow. I just looked at the clock. I've not made very good time. I'm just about 2 miles into this mission, it turns out. I've only walked a couple of miles from LaGuardia. I've got another 8 to go to get to JFK, and I'm going to have to get cracking if I want to make it there before the sun goes down. But I've been enjoying every minute of this, so just soaking it in here in Queens. Thank you. My schlep continues past the crossing guards and construction crews that make Queens hum until I finally cross under Highway 495 and up to the massive Rego Center shopping mall. Tempting as it was to make a detour to Cheesecake Factory or hit up those Costco samples, I keep moving. I'm now about 3.5 miles and an hour and a half into this mission, and there's no slowing down now, especially because I'm about to hit a major cross street with a unique place in New York City history. All right, finally feel like we're making some progress here. We made it all the way to Queens Boulevard, which is probably the most famous street in the entire borough, and it's played a big role in movies and TV shows. If you're a big fan of the movie Coming to America like I am, one of my favorite movies of all time, the fictional restaurant McDowell's was actually located right here on Queens Boulevard, the one they tried to make look like McDonald's. Also, Midnight Cowboy, parts of it were filmed on this street, and if you like the HBO show Entourage, you'll remember Vinny Chase made that movie called Queens Boulevard. Again, all because of this street that I'm on right here, the most famous street in all of Queens. Somebody take down this guy's number because I just might need it after this. Got to admit, starting to seem a little overly ambitious, this idea here. Feet hurt, back hurts, stomach empty. Even though I'm way behind schedule, desperate times call for desperate measures. So at the halfway point, 5 miles into the walk, I grab a slice and a Coke at Gloria Pizza. Now look, I lived in New York City for 4 years. I've got the fold down. I know how to handle the gooey cheese and the drippy oil. And immediately it is clear this is just what I needed as I enter the back half of this completely screwy walkabout. Past skyscrapers and steeples, I trudge along Queens Boulevard. I pass cops and ambulances and firehouses, keenly aware of their cross streets just in case I need their life-saving services soon. All right, update on the mission here. Another major milestone, just turned off Queens Boulevard onto Kew Gardens, which means I think I'm about 2/3 of the way to JFK Airport. It's going a little slower than I thought. I think we're well over 2 hours at this point. Stopped for a slice and a Coke, of course, and to take some videos. So I'm just enjoying it. The sun is out. It's gorgeous, a little sweaty. But this is the best way I can think of spending an afternoon in New York City when I got nothing else to do. And this neighborhood really reminds me why I'm so glad I decided to walk from LaGuardia to JFK. Beautiful, tree-lined streets, gorgeous homes. Not sure why there are more cops here, but I'm sure it's nothing too serious. The sun is shining bright, and there's not a thing that could cast a dark shadow on my journey. Or is there? Right about this time, I walk into a graveyard. 65 acres of headstones dating back 150 years. This is Maple Grove Cemetery, listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And of course, since this is New York City, you know some famous people are interred here. This cemetery is where Laverne Baker is buried. She's a singer in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, had several hits in the 1950s, and she's one of a few notable people buried right here. As I gaze out over the grave markers, the first thing that comes to mind is how glad I am that the sun has not yet set. Which reminds me, I gotta get a move on. We're coming up now on 3 hours into this cross Queens walk. The shadows are getting long, and if I don't hurry, it is gonna get dark on me. So I keep on going to the home stretch, and perhaps the most daunting part of the route so far, the Van Wyck Expressway. A 6-lane freeway that I now have to follow all the way to JFK Airport. Thankfully, there is a frontage road. Wait, what's going on right there? Never mind, doesn't matter. I'm too focused on the food carts and great smells in this neighborhood. Traffic's heavy, the buildings are a little sketchy, graffiti abounds, rust is the dominant color under the train tracks and overpasses. And around this time, I see the SkyTrain to JFK, and I start to wonder if there's some way that I can just hitch a ride and end it all. I'm about 3 hours into this right now. Got about another hour to go according to Google Maps, so definitely going to be dog tired when this is all said and done. Starting to see a lot of trash and tall fences and boarded up buildings, and I realize just how far outside my comfort zone this trek has become. Which, it then occurs to me, is kind of the point of all this. I could be sitting safely in the back seat of an Uber, but I chose to walk. In part because I wanted to experience New York City like I haven't before. See the sights you won't see on a tourist bus, and meet the interesting people who make this town tick.
So this is 1965.
Right in this very spot.
Over about 10 feet to the right from where we're standing, but right across you'll be able to see the house, yeah.
People like Rudy here, a lifelong New York City resident who's had family right here in this spot in Rockaway, Queens for decades.
Okay, when I ask people where do you go to the 6th grade, that's the pedigree question.
He says this borough has changed exponentially over the years, but it's always been diverse, the very melting pot New York City's famous for.
Well, this was Italian, Irish, Catholic, so you had Hispanic, you had black.
It used to be predominantly Catholic here, he says, but now it's mostly Sikh and Hindu and Muslim.
Because you have a temple on one corner right here, and you have a mosque on the other corner.
This part of Queens, he says, unlike any other, and that's a good thing.
See, nothing is better, so everything is different.
Yeah.
So it's the difference that's appealing.
My boy Rudy also told me something absolutely magical, and that is that this very neighborhood where he lives, where I am right now, Rockaway, is where the real story behind Goodfellas was set. Goodfellas is my favorite movie of all time, so that alone makes this little journey worth the effort. And by the way, it is quite a bit of effort. My shoulders are starting to get a little bit raw from these straps on the backpack. Again, it's probably about 20 pounds that I've been lugging for 10 miles, which again, no complaints. I know a lot of first responders and military folks have done far heavier. And so yes, it's starting to take its toll a little bit, I'll be honest with you. Plus, skies are starting to darken a little bit. Looks like some storms might be headed in. And I think I've only got about an hour of sunlight left too. So we gotta wrap this up. Thankfully, I'm getting pretty close.
Okay, so I've reached the final fork in the road, Rockaway Boulevard and the Van Wyck Expressway. I cross the freeway and turn into a residential neighborhood that sits just a few hundred yards from JFK Airport. I have walked 10 miles across the borough of Queens through neighborhoods I never even knew existed. And as I reach this row of airport hotels, it becomes crystal clear just how close I've gotten. Holy crap, I did it. I am almost there. I have accomplished what perhaps no sane man in the history of humankind has done. I walked from LaGuardia Airport to JFK.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
But not so fast. Wait just a minute. At this gas station at the corner of 135th and 150th, right next to the Belt Parkway, I realize the dream is dead.
Okay, here's the sad thing. I've reached a dead end, it looks like. I don't think I can get any closer. I'm literally across the street from JFK Airport, but you can't just walk onto airport grounds from what I can tell. Google Maps will not let you just walk on. You have to be in a vehicle, and so pedestrians really not allowed. So, I mean, I walked across the street from JFK Airport, but not quite to it. So I wouldn't call the Guinness Book of World Records folks just yet.
I could try to walk onto airport property, but I feared incurring the wrath of law enforcement. So at Baisley Pond Park, I spot a yellow cab, and I raise the white flag.
Hello? Are you in service? Could you take me to Terminal 4? Okay, thank you.
Even the cabbie can't quite believe what I tried to pull off.
I walked all the way from LaGuardia Airport to here.
Oh, really?
Yep.
He agreed to drive me the few hundred yards I came up short, and he agreed to subscribe to this channel, which I hope you'll do too if you haven't already. Hard not to feel dejected after coming this close, but as we pull up to Terminal 4 at JFK, exactly 4.5 hours after I exited LaGuardia across town, I realized this was worth every minute. After all, I got to experience firsthand the beating heart of America's biggest city. Not the glitz and glamour of Manhattan, but the rust and rebar of New York's largest borough. How large? At least 10 miles across, as I found out the hard way.
Can't beat it.
Birthplace of presidents and performers and prominent personalities.
When you get older, you do older things. That's human nature.
I have spent a lot of unforgettable days in New York City, but somehow I get the feeling I might just remember this one most. That's it for this episode of Window Seat. Appreciate you taking the time to watch. Be sure to hit like and share if you'd be so kind. And we'd love it if you subscribe so you can share our journeys all around the globe on a mission to visit every country on the planet. We're back with a brand new episode next Friday. In the meantime, be sure to check out one of these other episodes from Window Seat.